Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel Journey with Vijaykumar Shrivastav. Today I am going to present the topic Glossary of Agronomic Terminology, Series 3rd, in which we will cover the alphabets from I to O. Before presentation, little introduction about myself. I am Vijaykumar Shrivastav. I have done M.Sc Agriculture with specialization in Agronomy from Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar in 1996. And presently I am associated with seed industry and working for one of the M.Sc. So let's move to the presentation. Imbibition. The first process in the absorption of water by the plant is the imbibition of water by the cell walls of root hairs. In determinate plants, the vegetative and reproductive stages continue simultaneously like okra and tomato. Soybean was the only crop which has determinate and indeterminate as well as semi-determinate growing types. Indicator plant is one which reflects specific growing conditions either by its presence or character of growth. Such as plant indicates water stress earlier than main crop plants. Infiltration. It is defined as the process of entry of water into the soil profile through the surface of soil or the downward entry of maximum rate at which a soil under a given condition and at a given time can absorb water, then there is no divergent flow at borders. In filtration rate, it is defined as the rate of entry of water into the soil profile and expressed as centimeter per hour. Infrared radiation, electromagnetic radiation lying outside the red band with a wavelength between about 0.8 mm. Insolation. Electromagnetic energy radiated into the space by the sun is known as insolation. Integrated pest management, a management effort combining biological and chemical controls to reduce reliance on synthetic pesticides. Intensive agriculture, a system to maximize output of land through use of chemicals and machinery. Internode, the part of the stem or branch and the distance, the gap between the two nodes is known as internodes. Irrigation efficiency, the ratio of the volume of water required for a specific beneficial use as compared to the volume of water delivered for this purpose. It is commonly interpreted as the volume of water stored in the soil for evapotranspiration compared to the volume of water delivered for this purpose. Irrigation, artificial watering of crops is known as irrigation. Irrigation interval, time between the start of successive field irrigation applications on the same field in days. Irrigation requirement refers to the quantity of water exclusive of precipitation required for crop production. This amounts to net irrigation requirement plus other economically unavoidable losses. It is usually expressed in depth for a given time. Irrigation response is the rate of increase in crop yield per unit of increase in water applied. Isobar, a line of equal pressure. Isoheads are the lines connecting various locations having an equal amount of precipitation. Isotach, a line of equal speed, and isotherm, a line of equal temperature. Kinetic energy, this is the energy of motion. Laminar flow, a flow in which fluid moves smoothly in streamlines in parallel layers or sheets. Land classification, the classification of units of land for the purpose of grouping soils of similar characteristics, in some cases showing their relative suitability for some specific use. Latent heat, it is the energy required to change a substance to a higher state of matter. This same energy is released on the reverse process. Change of state through evaporation and condensation is known as latent heat of evaporation and latent heat of condensation. From water to water, vapor takes 600 calories and water to ice takes nearly 80 calories. Latitude, angular distance measures in degrees north or south from the equator. Leaching, the process of removal of soluble materials by the passage of water through soil. Leaching requirement, the fraction of water entering the soil must pass through the root zone in order to prevent soil salinity from exceeding a specified value. Leaching requirement is used primarily under steady state or long time average conditions. Leaf area index, the area of one side of leaves per unit area of land surface. Legumes, a type of plant which has nodules formed by bacteria on its roots. The bacteria that compose these nodules take nitrogen from the air and pass it into the plant for the plant to use. Some legumes are alfalfa, soybean, sweet clover, and peanuts. Longitude, distance east or west on the earth's surface measured as an arc of equator in degrees up to 189 degree, or by the difference in time between the meridian passing through a particular place and a standard or prime meridian, usually the one passing through Greenwich, England. Long wave radiation, electromagnetic radiation with a wavelength greater than 0.8 microns. Low or depression, when the isobars are circular or elliptical in shape and the pressure is lowest at the center, such a pressure system is called low or depression or cyclone. The moment will be anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere while it is clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Wind speed hardly exceeds 40 km per hour. Macronutrients, an essential nutrient elements that is needed by plants in relatively large quantities. Elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, calcium and magnesium comes under macronutrient categories. Manure, generally the refuge from stable and barnyards including both animal excreta and astra or other litters are come under manures. Marginal land, land almost too unproductive to be farmed profitably is called marginal lands. Meridian, a great circle of the earth passing through the geographical poles in any given point on the earth's surface. Microclimate, the pattern of variation in temperature, moisture, etc. over a small area, the sequence of atmospheric changes with a very small region. Then micronutrient, an essential nutrient element that is needed by plants in small quantities. The elements like chlorine, iron, boron, manganese, zinc, copper, molybdenum, nickels comes under micronutrient category. Moisture percent, dry wet basis, the weight of water per 100 units of weight of material dried to constant weight at a standard temperature. Depth basis, the equivalent depth of free water per 100 units of depth of soil. Numerically, this value approximates the volume of water per 100 units of volume of soil. Then monoculture, an agricultural practice in which a single species of plant is cultivated in an area. It requires large amounts of fertilizers and pesticides. Then monoecious plant, the plants having stamens and pistils in separate flowers on the same plant is called monoecious plant. Mulch, mulch is natural or artificially applied layer of plant residue or other material on the surface of the soil with the objects of moisture conservation, temperature control, prevention of surface compaction of crusting, reduction of runoff and erosion, improvement in soil structure or weed control. Net irrigation requirement, depth of water required for meeting evapotranspiration minus contribution by precipitation, groundwater, stored soil water, does not include operation losses and leaching requirements, period. Net radiation, balance between all incoming and outgoing short and long wave radiation. Nitrification, formation of nitrates from ammonia is called nitrification. Nitrogen cycle, the sequence of transformations undergone by nitrogen in its movement from the free atmosphere into and through soils, into the plants, and eventually back. These biochemical reactions are largely involved in the growth and metabolism of plants and microorganisms. Nitrogen fixation, process by which atmospheric nitrogen is combined with other elements to form inorganic compounds which can then be converted by nitrification into nutrients that can readily be absorbed by plants and used for making more complex organic compounds, specifically conservation of atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogen compounds by rhizobium bacteria in the root nodules of legumes. Nutrient, a chemical element or compound that is essential for normal body metabolism, growth and production. It includes carbohydrate, fats, proteins, vitamin, minerals and water. Nodules, small bodies or organelles which are present on the root surface that contain rhizobium bacteria. Non-saline alkali soil, a soil that contains sufficient exchangeable sodium to interfere with the growth of most crop plants and does not contain appreciable quantities of soluble salts. The exchangeable sodium percentage is greater than 15 and the electrical conductivity of the saturation extract is less than 4 mHz per centimeter at 25 degrees centigrade. The pH reading of the saturated soil paste is usually greater than 8.5. Non-selective herbicide. Chemical compounds that is generally toxic to all plants treated, used to kill a wide range of plant species that usually includes crop species in the treated area. Some selective herbicides may become non-selective if usage is very high rates. Oasis effect. Effect of dry fallow surrounds on the microclimate of a relatively small acreage of land, where an air mass moving into the irrigated area will give off sensible heat. For a small field, this may result in a higher evapotranspiration crop as compared to predicted evapotranspiration crop using a climate data collected inside the irrigated area. Conversely, evapotranspiration crop predictions based on weather data collected outside the irrigated fields may over-predict actual evapotranspiration losses. Organic agriculture. The practice of growing crop without chemical fertilizers and pesticides but otherwise similar to alternative agriculture. Organic fertilizer. Organic matter added to the soil to increase production like manure, plants plowed into the soil and compost. Any fertilizer material containing plant nutrient is combination with carbon comes under organic fertilizer category. Osmosis. The movement of water from lower concentration to a higher concentration or higher potential to lower potential through a permeable membrane. Osmotic pressure. When a solution is separated from pure solvent by membrane permeable only to the solvent, there tends to be a net flux of solvent into the solution since the chemical potential of the solvent is higher in the pure phase than in solution. This process is called osmosis, and the pressure difference which must be applied to the solution to prevent a net flux of solvent is called osmotic pressure. In general, dehydration is accompanied by an increase in osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure, however, is not sufficiently sensitive to be used as an indicator of small changes in water balance. Overgrazing. Grazing by animals on vegetation at a rate greater than the ability of vegetation to regenerate itself. Ozone, the gaseous form of oxygen. Ozone depletion. Depletion of the ozone layer in the Earth's upper atmosphere primarily by accumulation of human produced gases as chlorofluorocarbons. This allows increased amount of ultraviolet light to reach the earth and damage both plants and animals. Ozone layer, a layer of ozone in the earth's upper atmosphere that acts as a protective shield by filtering out ultraviolet light. This was all about glossary of agronomic terminology from alphabets I to O. Next alphabets will be covered in next presentation. Now my presentation ends here. Thank you very much. I have given my YouTube channel details, Journey with VIJAYKUMAR SHRIVASTAV. Having requests, please visit the channel, subscribe it and provide your kind and valuable feedback for further improvements. Thank you.